The time is now 5:31 p.m. Good evening, and welcome to the March 17, 2025 Academic Achievement Meeting. I am Jamal J. Jongo, Chair of the Academic Achievement Committee and the student member of the board for the Prince George's County Public Schools. I would like to welcome our committee members and board representatives, Dr. Tiffany Anderfull and Zakia Goins-McCants. A special welcome to Dr. Judith White, Chief Academic Officer and Superintendent Designee, along with her team who will be leading tonight's presentations. Before we start, we will have introductions, starting with board members, administration staff, and board staff. Board members, do you want to go first?
Sure, I can go first. Zakia Goins-McCants, board member representing District 8.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Tiffany Anderfull. I'm board member representing District 1.
Superintendent team, so Dr. Judith White.
Hello, everyone. I'm Judith White, Chief Academic Officer.
Is there anybody else on the team that wants to do this?
Good morning. Good evening. I am Melissa Canny. I'm the supervisor for the English Language Development Program.
Good evening, Victoria Holmes, Coordinating Supervisor for Language and Literacy.
Good evening, everyone. Luisa Santos, Multilingual Family Engagement Specialist.
Good evening. My name is Natikwa Riley. I'm the principal at Riverdale Elementary School.
Good evening, I'm Mr. Bustos, ELD teacher in Riverdale Elementary School.
Good morning. Good evening. My name is Inna Bilugina, and I'm also from Riverdale Elementary School. I'm ELD chair.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ms. Sandra Rivera. I am the Parent Engagement Assistant here at Riverdale Elementary.
And good evening. I am Ms. Cruz. I am the Community School Coordinator here at Riverdale Elementary School.
Okay. I think the last thing now is board staff.
Yes, good evening. My name is Rosa Lopez, Administrative Secretary for the Board Office.
Thank you, everyone. For those unable to join us live, a recording will be available on the PGCPS YouTube channel and board docs. Now we will proceed with roll call. Ms. Lopez, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Jongo.
Present.
Dr. Anderfull.
Present.
Ms. Goins-McCants.
Present.
There are 3 board members present.
With 3 board members in affirmative, we now have quorum. If there are no objections, the committee shall adopt the March 17th, 2025 meeting agenda. There being no objections, the meeting agenda is adopted. If there are no corrections, the committee shall approve the February 10th, 2025 meeting minutes as distributed. There being no corrections, the meeting minutes are approved. There are no registered public comment speakers for this evening. I think now we're going to our first discussion item. This committee will present 3 presentations from the administration tonight, followed by discussions after each presentation. I will now yield to Dr. Judith White, Chief Academic Officer, to introduce Agenda 3.1.
Hello, everyone. Actually, we have one presentation this evening around ELD and our family engagement. So in November, this team came and talked about the work that they would do with schools and the use of working across collaboration with different positions in our schools to make sure our families were communicated with, engaged with, and finding ways to better the partnerships with our home as far as our ELD students. So tonight, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Melissa Canny. She's our supervisor of ELD, and she's brought, as you heard, one of our amazing school teams, as well as her engagement specialist with her tonight. I'm excited, as you heard from the school team, the many positions that touch students. And so I turn it over to you, Dr. Canny, to discuss the topic for tonight.
Thank you, Dr. White. Good evening, everybody. We are very excited to share with you the work that we have done since the beginning of the school year and since we met with you in November. I am here with Ms. Santos, and Ms. Santos has only been here a short 5 months, 6 months maybe, and has done all of the work she's going to share in the slides, and I'm very excited for her to share the work we've done. We also have 2 voices from the field. We have a parent who will share via video, and then we also have the team from Riverdale, which we're very excited for them to share the impact that our work has had in Prince George's County. And so now I will thank the board for allowing us to come and present, and I will turn it over to I'm speaking it into existence, Ms. Santos.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you again for allowing us to present on this important topic. I want to start by saying that we have launched several district-wide initiatives to enhance family engagement for multilingual learners. To start, we are currently developing an 8-week family English literacy program using Rosetta Stone. This comprehensive guide will help schools facilitate the program with ease, offering interactive lessons that can be implemented in person, virtually, or in a hybrid format. It will also include detailed budgeting information and resources to promote meaningful family engagement. We are currently collaborating with Samuel Chase and Fort Foote Elementary Schools to develop and pilot the program this spring. Both schools expressed strong interest in piloting the program, and were willing to dedicate the necessary time and resources to collaborate with us in developing the guide. Their feedback throughout the pilot phase will help us refine and finalize the guide before its publication for schools. We're also really excited to host the 11th Annual International Family Day at Camp Schmidt, which will be held on May 3rd, 2025. To ensure accessibility, transportation will be provided from 3 different school sites. We anticipate welcoming about 200 multilingual families for this special event. We are working closely with Dr. Love from the Office of Interpreting and Translation, who has successfully led the event for the past 10 years, as well as the Department of Environmental Education at Camp Schmidt to ensure a smooth transition and engaging programming for all attendees. At the district level, we have also formed the Multilingual Learner Family Engagement Steering Committee to place family voices at the heart of our initiatives. The committee, which held its first meeting in January, consists of approximately 18 members, including 7 multilingual families. We have teachers, administrators, central office leaders, and a community partner. Its purpose is to foster collaboration and ensure that the needs and perspectives of multilingual families are integrated into the development of engagement programs. We are also relaunching the International Parent Leadership Consortium, which is a 6-week leadership development series to further develop them as parent leaders. Approximately 20 multilingual families will engage in collaborative presentations, including a principal-led segment where school leaders can share their insights directly with parents. The series is scheduled to begin in mid-April and conclude by June. To give a more personal perspective, Candida Garcia, a graduate of the International Parent Leadership Consortium and now a member of our Multilingual Learner Family Engagement Steering Committee, will share her experiences. This testimonial demonstrates the real-world impact of family engagement programs on building leadership and trust among multilingual families. The video is in Spanish, but there are English subtitles for you.
Mi nombre es Cándida García. Yo soy egresada de Consorcio Internacional de Liderazgo de Padres. Actualmente soy miembro del Comité Directivo de Participación Familiar de Estudiantes Multilingües de las Escuelas del Condado de Prince George. Mis hijos actualmente asisten a la Academia de College Park. Me siento muy contenta de, como egresada de Consorcio Internacional y miembro del Comité Directivo de Participación Familiar, porque de esa manera he obtenido las herramientas adecuadas para poder ayudar en la educación de mis hijos, para que ellos puedan avanzar y de esa manera ellos obteniendo mejores calificaciones en sus clases. También hemos participado en el PTO, en el regreso a clase, también en las recaudaciones de fondos y, y de esa manera hemos podido también involucrarnos más en conjunto con el personal de la escuela y otros padres, haciendo abogacía para el mejoramiento, para mejores programas y el mejoramiento no solo de esa escuela, sino de las escuelas a nivel del condado. Por ejemplo, hemos abogado para esas nuevas escuelas que actualmente unas ya pues están en funcionando y otras pronto van a ser inauguradas. También abogando por ese presupuesto escolar para que esos fondos vayan a programas que ayuden más con la educación de los niños, para que los niños también puedan recibir y obtener esas clases de ISOL y ellos puedan recibir todo el apoyo adecuado que necesitan. Nos sentimos pues agradecidos con estos programas. Esperamos que estos programas sigan ayudando a más familias. De esa manera poder apoyar en la educación de nuestros hijos. Es una satisfacción para nosotros ver tomado esos cursos, ver tomado esas clases en las cuales nos han ayudado muchísimo, no solo para nuestro bienestar familiar, sino para nuestras comunidades, para el beneficio el mejoramiento de nuestro condado. Gracias.
We sincerely appreciate Candida Garcia for sharing her valuable insights on family engagement, partnership, and also leadership. So this Gantt chart here is the same chart from our initial presentation that laid out the plan for the year. It has been updated to show which items are now in progress and which have been completed for district level initiatives. We are currently progressing with most of our initiatives according to the proposed schedule. However, 2 adjustments have been made to this timeline. First, we decided to promote the International Parent Leadership Consortium internally rather than posting it on our PGCPS website. This change aims to make families feel more comfortable participating in the current climate. Second, we have chosen to pilot the English literacy program in 2 schools instead of all schools. This approach will allow us to develop a highly effective guide that other schools can replicate. Now I will highlight the school-based initiatives we have completed so far this year. We have developed professional development workshops for staff to enhance family engagement efforts. The first one was facilitating engagement nights for families of multilingual learners. This training helps staff explore the connection between family engagement and student success. Staff are also introduced to best practices for organizing events tailored to multilingual families. This workshop was shared with English language development teachers, community school coordinators, parent engagement assistants, and administrators. The next session was building trust and effective communication. Staff learned about barriers to engagement and strategies to foster trust and meaningful communication with diverse families. English language development chairpersons will have the opportunity to facilitate this session with their school staff. We've also created a series of workshops for schools to implement throughout the school year. These quarterly workshop templates include topics like an overview of ELD and WIDA access, available programming in our district, and how families can support their child at home. The templates for these quarterly presentations were translated into Spanish, French, Dari, and Pashto, and an implementation of culturally responsive activities, supporting materials for staff, such as pre-designed flyers and evaluation forms, and resources that can be shared with families. These materials are designed to be accessible, customizable, and supportive for schools working to engage multilingual families. These materials can be used by all family-facing stakeholders, such as parent engagement assistants and ELD teachers. These workshops will help to streamline the support that families receive across all schools.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Santos. Now I'm excited to introduce Principal Riley and her team from Riverdale. They not only participated in Ms. Santos' workshops, but they highlighted their work and found a way to collaborate to meet the needs of our multilingual learners. And I don't want to take up any more of their time. I'm going to turn it over to Principal Riley.
Good afternoon, everybody. So I have the pleasure of introducing Riverdale Elementary to you all. We're a student body of about 600 students, where we have about close to 85% of our students are ELD. So that's the majority of our students. So we didn't start off doing parent engagement events that were just tailored to our multilingual families. They were school-wide events, but they still included our multilingual families because that's the majority of our families. And what we noticed was they wanted to be there, they wanted to be a part of it, but they didn't feel as empowered as we needed them to. So once our staff started to participate in the professional development, we got ideas about how to segment and actually target families where they felt more supported and empowered. And this is how we came up with our ELD Chat and Choose, which are done by grade level. I'm going to tell you that the team is much larger than what you see here. So all of the people that touch the program would be all of our secretaries, all of our ELD teachers, which we have 8 in our building, classroom teachers, administration, and then of course, our PEA and CSC. So I'm going to allow them to share what they've been doing and the feedback, but I want you to know that we've been doing this for years and it really evolved this year with the additional supports that we've gotten through the professional development. Ms. Rivera, I am going to turn it over to you and Ms. Cruz.
Okay, good evening, everyone. So I'm so excited to be here. We have a great ELD team, and they attended the faculty family engagement events for multilingual families, and they've received a lot of support and a lot of ideas. And one of the goals that me and Ms. Cruz as the PEA and the CSC here at our school was to really empower our parents. So one of the tasks was involving the ELD. And we got a lot of feedback from parents saying that they wanted to help and be a part of their students' education, but they were not sure how to do that. So in our weekly workshops, as Ms. Riley mentioned, they are by grade level. And they come to the workshops, and the ESOL teacher from that grade level works with them and kind of gives them the tools, resources, examples, things to take home. Today we had our newcomer with Mr. Bustos, and the families were able to ask their questions and get to see what strategies they do in the classroom so that they can take it at home. We also provide some incentives so they are able to take, we try to not only just have them sit there, but actually do an activity with the child, and then they're able to take those home. So one of the things was like discussion questions when they read. And then today they were given bilingual little books for them to read in their native language and in English, so that the families have those resources at home. And we always try to, when we have big school events like math night and STEM night is coming up, we also, the ELD is a part of that. So they do try to do a school-wide event, but also bring in those families. So it's really amazing to see. And as we've been doing it, we've got more and more parent involvement. So it's really beautiful to see that.
The one thing I want to add is, so when we have a school-wide event, we try to start it with the ELD families coming in first, where they get some information, where there's translators and things of that sort. And then we disperse by grade level, and then the ELD teachers join at grade level as well. So when they go into the grade level, first there's a familiar face outside of the gen ed teacher, but then they're there giving additional supports for the ELD families. And then the next step in our chat and choose is to do what will you need to do to move to the next level of your ELD. So if you're a level 1, 2, 3, and they will be not done by grade level, but by levels. And we will invite all the families in to get some resources around things to work on over the summer.
And then another thing that we do is, because we are the community school and the parent engagement, we try to tie our events with other events because our parents are working parents. So we try to also, for example, we have Monday food bags. So they attend the workshop, and at the end of the workshop, once they do the evaluation, they also can receive a food bag. So just trying to give them a voice, give them the things that they need for their child to be successful. And it really empowers them. They ask questions and they take leadership of their child's education in that sense.
Did you guys have any questions that we could clarify for you?
So normally they will
Remember,
just
any questions?
I didn't hear anything that either one of you said. I'm sorry.
Chair, I don't know what you just said. Can you repeat?
Oh, I said, board members, do we have any questions?
Oh, we could take questions right now.
Melissa, do you have more slides, or how many more slides
We
before?
have a few more slides. We
Okay, then
have...
let's equal. Then let's do the whole slides, and then we'll come back at the end.
And thank you, Principal Riley, for sharing. This is the type of work and the collaboration between the whole school to meet the needs of our multilingual learners that we're hoping to see in all schools.
All righty. So like Dr. Kenny said, thank you again, Riverdale Elementary, for sharing your insights. It makes me really excited and happy to see how the work is playing out at different school levels. So I want to continue with our presentation. We only have a couple more slides left. The Gantt chart here is the same chart from our initial presentation that laid out the plan for the year. It has been updated to show which items are now in progress and which have been completed for school level initiatives. We're currently progressing with most of our initiatives according to the proposed schedule.
And one of the additional things that we did at the district level with the transition to the new presidential administration is we developed a presentation for central office and school-based staff for our meeting the needs of our immigrant students and families to help them as we navigated this shift. And we provide an overview of immigration trends, as well as data about the immigrant population. And participants engaged in scenarios around how they could help their families and their students navigate these specific challenges. We helped over 15 stakeholder groups engage in this information and help them to create a fostering belonging environment in their schools. To date, we've done over 25 presentations in collaboration with the International Student Admissions Office for over 1,100 people. And we have also developed a Canvas course, which was just rolled out. And we have about 150 people that are in that course, and they participate that in a self-paced manner.
Alrighty, so to track the success of our initiatives, we've established an internal multilingual family engagement dashboard. And as of February 1st, 13.5% of schools have held multilingual family engagement events. More than 1,300 families have participated in school-level events. 92 schools participated in district professional development focused on family engagement of families of multilingual learners. 380 school-based staff have attended a district professional development to enhance family engagement. We currently do not have enough data to determine the percentage of schools that have held multilingual family engagement PDs and the number of staff members that attended. We continue to review this data as it helps us monitor participation and improve our efforts. The internal multilingual family engagement dashboard allows us to disaggregate data showing attendance trends across different school types and Board of Education districts. This is data based on attendance from at least one school-based staff member. Schools with higher attendance rates included Title I schools, community schools, and those identified as ATSI, CSI. Area 1, which is comprised of mostly elementary schools, has the highest attendance rate compared to Area 2 and Area 3. Board of Education Districts 3, 2, and 8 had the highest attendance rates, while Districts 5, 7, and 6 had lower participation. We are continuing to explore correlations between attendance at district PDs and school engagement events to identify areas of improvement.
Thank you for listening to us this evening. That is all we have. And now we will turn it over and ask if you have any questions for us.
And so, student board member Django, just before we start questions, I just want to remind the team. So the academic achievement team from the Board of Education side last year, in collaboration with me, determined the topics. So we knew that we had a lot of multilingual families that were not engaged. And so one of the topics that they wanted to dig deeper in was to find out ways that we could bring our families in, work with schools, and create scenarios where parents could really get a voice, have advocacy, and be able to support schools. So with that, also at the same time, the state wanted every school system to hire Miss Santos's position. So we were fortunate. You see, Miss Santos is a rock star. So we were fortunate to give her, and she's done a lot of these things that we didn't have in place, right? Because our goal should be, it's easy to do all of these parent meetings, right, through our family engagement office, which actually falls under communications and Chief Boyd. But it's different when now you want to target special education or multilingual learners. And how do you do that? How do you make them feel welcome? How do you create a space where someone is advocating? So when you listen to that one parent, although she gave us all of that back, it was so rich what she said. Because she now had an avenue and a voice. So I just wanted to paint that picture so you know why this topic. You all on this board, and once we come back in May, all 3 topics that have gone will come, and we will talk through what lessons learned and how to improve for next year. And then I will work with you all on which should those 3 big areas be as we go into next year, where we may want to know more and go into the field, try something, see if it works, and come back and report out. So just wanted to give that background before you all begin to ask questions.
Okay, thank you so much for the presentation. Board members, I'm opening the floor for questions. Does anyone have any questions? Oh, I'm guessing board member Kent.
Yes, thank you so much, Chair Jungo. For this round of questioning, I am want to first of all say thank you all so much for bringing us this presentation and all the amazing work that you all are doing. Getting so excited looking at all of this, even just seeing that the presentation itself is bilingual, just made me really excited. So I know my constituents all of my constituents have access to it and can read it and follow along with what's going on. Really appreciate that. How are parents able to get connected with this International Parent Leadership Consortium? Like, is there an application process? How does that happen?
Yes, that's a great question. So we are going to be posting information. Dr. Kenny has an ELD weekly newsletter that many principals and ELD teachers receive. From there, they will be recommending parent leaders at their schools, because we do have a limited amount of space. And there will be an application that will be translated into English, Spanish, French, Pashto, and Dar.
And then my other question in that vein for the Family Engagement Steering Committee and basically all of the ways that you all are reaching out to get parents, is it all pretty much the same process? The principals are recommending parents, or how are you getting that engagement to start helping you all build engagement?
Yes, it is a collaboration with parent engagement assistants, community school coordinators, English language development chairpersons. We do have a small collaborative team of family-facing stakeholder groups that includes Title I, SPED, Judy Centers. And then from there, with that collaboration, we're able to also share the information with them so they can share with their specialists and coordinators.
And Ms. Santos found a few of her people, our family members who were on our committee when she was doing a family engagement session for the district. So through their active participation, she was able to find people that weren't even recommended by our schools.
Wonderful. Thank you for that additional contact. That was incredibly helpful. That was all for this round.
Dr. Henderful?
Yes, thank you all again. I'm going to echo Board Member Goins McCants. This is fantastic. This is the work that everyone needs to know about. So kudos to all of you for doing this and continuing it in your respective schools and obviously across the district. To start, I had the same question you had, Board Member Goins McCants. So thank you for addressing that with regards to the ELD newsletter and the recruitment of parents to be involved in the consortium. With regard to the English family, the family English literacy pilots. So the two schools that you selected, it looks like Samuel Chase and Fort Foote. How did you all choose those specific schools to be a part of that pilot? I'm seeing they're both like on the southern side of the county. How were they selected?
So first of all, I want to give the board kudos because they actually asked us to start a family literacy workshop for our families. And we were like, let's figure out how this works. And so Ms. Santos took the Rosetta Stone. The Samuel Chase and Fort Foote were schools that were already interested and had already begun working with Rosetta Stone with their families. And because we wanted to pilot this, we wanted schools that were already interested where we could create the groundwork so that other schools can do it. And it just happened that these two schools were in the southern end.
I also want to provide additional context. These two schools do not receive community school Title I funding, and they are both new community schools. So we wanted to ensure that we provide a guide that can be replicated by other schools that are not designated as community schools or Title I schools.
Okay, that's really helpful. Interesting. Okay, and wait, where's my clock? Okay, the pilot, remind me again, because I'm following along on a separate screen. I'm struggling with just one screen today. So your faces are very small and I have a slide deck up. Remind me again, so for this pilot, it started this year. And as through the duration of this school year, then you'll kind of report out on findings and figure out like what worked, what didn't, and think about the possibility of scaling. Is that kind of the plan? I'm looking at your kind of Gantt chart here.
So Ms. Santos just started in October. And so we developed the family literacy so that they will be in 8-week increments and that families can continue to participate if schools offer them twice or possibly 3 times, but it's an 8-week course and we're actually going to be starting it shortly here with our schools. We did a lot of planning. We didn't want to just throw something and see if it worked. We wanted to make sure that we put a lot of effort into the planning before we actually implemented the pilot.
Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you. I misread. It says work group, not workshop. I thought I misread. Okay, thank you.
And then Melissa, if it works, I'm sorry, Ms. Santos, if it works, when it works, and we have a chance to look at it, even if we don't start the next round in September, we'll pick up a new 8-week sessions at some time once the school year starts, right? Okay.
Yes. And schools will be able to, once we have our facilitation guide, we'll have an estimate of about how much it costs when they go through SBB they'll be able to use some of their extra funding that they have left over to be able to purchase the items they would need to do a family English literacy at their school. And then Miss Santos and the teachers who did this from Samuel Chase and Fort Foote would help to facilitate the training for those schools. And then we also would still do a few county ones where any individuals who attend a school that's not able to host it would be able to attend our family literacy classes.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add the last thing. Thank you, Dr. Kenny, for clarifying that. I just also wanted to say that many schools do already have an English literacy program. However, most of the time they do have a vendor or they just receive Rosetta Stone licenses. So we wanted to provide a clear guide that has all the presentations, has all the activities, has all the resources, the materials, and the workbook. So schools that do not have the additional funding to purchase a vendor to teach these classes still receive an opportunity to host them at their school.
Okay, great. Do you want to do a second round? Okay. Before we do a second round, I think I should. I got one question, just one. Are there any plans? Well, my well, not really concerned, but my I was kind of I guess shocked about the professional development, like the low participation in the professional development. And is there any plans to provide any additional resources or incentives for staff in districts with low participation rates in these professional development days?
So Ms. Santos has everything nicely organized on one document that any school could use. So even if they didn't attend the professional development, they can still access and it's clearly laid out. And Ms. Santos has actually started looking at schools and figuring out where she can start contacting schools that haven't had any participation or haven't had anybody to engage so that we can start reaching out to schools one by one so that it's not just left to people not coming. So we really want to target those schools that aren't coming and see what we can do to get their family engagement up and running.
And what I love and just want to just bring attention to the room is one of the data points. First off, I love the fact that we have a dashboard for multilingual learners. So shout out for you all for working to get that platform. I know that was a work in progress for us. But when you looked at the districts, be mindful that if there's a district that's lower, you would expect the districts that have schools in the north to be way higher than some schools in the South. So also we have to equate for the type of learner that's in certain schools could also play a role in why some districts aren't showing up as more pronounced as others.
Additionally, the month of January, February, and March was also the WIDA access timeframe. So many of our staff members were very overwhelmed during this time. We will be offering additional professional development within the next 2 months. And as Dr. Kenny said, my recordings are available for our staff, which includes all of the resources that they need to implement the information.
Thank you. Oh, and then just one slight I think I guess comment. I didn't see District 9 in that last slide where we talked about like the districts with the amount the percentage of districts in the county. I didn't see District 9. I heard all the other ones. I just didn't hear District 9. Yeah, yeah, so I don't know.
One, it looks like.
We just highlighted the top 2 or 3 and the lowest 2 or 3. So if you would like
you had
to
these board
know
members
more,
on here, you got to bring their district. So we're gonna get you that information for all of
we'll
us.
get you that.
Okay, I just didn't see, so I thought it was all of them. Okay. Yeah, but that's it from me. Ms. Gordon McKenzie, do you want to go in for your second round?
Yes, please. Thank you, Chair Jungle. I will try to keep these 2 questions that I have brief. I'm curious about the number 1, your key performance indicators that you all have for this work overall. Really excited about this dashboard and being able to access it and go through it. But specifically for your work with the family and community engagement, how are you all seeing, and I know we're early, but seeing and tracking how increased engagement is affecting academic achievement, specifically how students are performing on access, and even to a certain extent how things are going with WIDA screeners, if we're seeing a difference based off of engagement. And then the other half of my question is, how can we as board members support you all in these efforts?
So we haven't gotten down to the access level, but I love that kind of question because I'm always pushing my staff. So now that we have the schools that have the higher percentage, when we get our access scores, we can kind of compare and see if there's an impact or if it's just nominal. I think our biggest metric right now is seeing if the work that Ms. Santos is doing is leading to schools actually shifting their practice and hosting events. So that was the first thing we wanted to do, is get every school hosting events. And we are trying to give a series of events that every school can host. All the slides are done so that every school can consistently provide the same information for our multilingual learner families. So I think it's more about getting out there, but now you've challenged Ms. Santos and I, and we love data. So we'll start to explore that impact on our students with their access scores.
Well, another thing to think about too, Melissa, that they may not know is that Melissa has a multilingual learner or ELD strategic plan. So I think when you look at how schools are doing, it's multiple aspects that you would have to look at. Family engagement is interesting because a lot of times, and you all know this, we operate on like what we can control and what we can do. And so sometimes we leave that voice behind. And this was about the intentionality of a parent group that wanted to be involved and don't know how to get connected. And so hopefully that makes the difference to help their children on what's coming in, what's the right questions to ask, how can I feel more connected at the schoolhouse level. But know that we're trying to attack many things through her strategic plan. And at some point, I'll make sure you all get a copy of her strategic plan as well. And she gets 2 more minutes because we took up some of her time answering questions.
Chair Jongo, can they answer the second half of the question?
Yeah, we still got time. I can grant it, yeah.
Thank you. And the second half is just how we as the board can support you all's work.
I think as we have our flyers for our family engagement events, making sure that we share them with you and that you share them with your constituents, I think that would be the best way to help. And then I think going back to active parent engagement. So yes, Ms. Santos has a plan for families to engage in our IPLC, but if you know of an active parent of a multilingual learner that you think would be good, we'd love your recommendations as well. So by all means, share that with us and we can give them the application or get that to you so that they can apply.
Hey, the floor goes to Dr. Anderful.
Thank you. Yeah, I just keep saying this is great work because it really is. I have a question for the Riverdale Elementary School team. Thank you all so much for joining. I think one of the first things you said that I heard you say, Principal Riley, was that that it wasn't until you all were able to engage in the professional development that things kind of took off, right? And you all were able to utilize some of what you learned during that time. I'm paraphrasing, to kind of add on to some of the work that you were already doing. So I'm just curious to hear a little more about, what's shared here is that you all obviously were able to, host an event. I'm curious to hear from you all what specifically from the professional development was most helpful to you all. And actually, figuring out how best to engage families and support families in your school. And that can be to anyone.
So we're going to give you 2 parts. So I'm going to say that we've been hosting events for our families for 8 years. Let me say. And then when Ms. Belugina and Mr. Bustos attended the engagement event through the ELD office, we almost moved it to how we do in our classroom, which is in small group. So I'm going to allow them to tell you what they took away and why it's working better this way.
Got it.
Mr. Bustos and Ms. Belugina, you have to speak up. Unmute.
Yeah, just a couple of hours ago, I just facilitated a parent engagement. So I'm the ELD newcomer teacher. So I invited the parents of the newcomer students, the parents of the newcomer students. I was able to explain to them the process of the English language development, and they're so appreciative about it because sometimes the new parents and new students are at a loss of what we are doing in the classroom.
So I do know a part that we took away from the actual professional development was the breakdown of information and how to piece it out instead of giving them so much to take in, which has been the biggest part of empowering parents is giving them the words of like, what should I look for? What are the questions to ask? And then what can I take home to support my children? So every level has had a different piece of the learning to take home. But the biggest part was that we needed to segment it down so that everyone felt comfortable in a safe space to ask questions and that we were able to model the things that we were having them do and then to take it home.
I think another powerful thing you said is when you think about our multilingual learners and their different proficiency levels, how you talked about just the newcomers. The newcomer families are going to just come in general with so many needs that your more proficient students, their families have been there or they've already started at a proficiency level. So even thinking about differentiating for parents, which we know is good professional learning practice that we do for educators as well.
It's taken a lot of time, I'm not going to lie to you, for us to do it by grade level and then by level of students. But what we're noticing is that our parents want to be a part of it. That's not an issue we have at Riverdale. Our parents will come. If we say come, the whole building will show up. But it's what we do when they're there and how we help them feel like they're a part of the learning. So one big thing at Riverdale is we always have translators present for every event. And usually the translators are first there to help the parents understand, but then they come and sit next to us as the teachers and the administrators, and they tell us what's being said because we allow the functions to be run in other languages so that everyone has a voice and they don't feel like it's an obstacle.
And if I can add, so we started, like Ms. Riley was saying, it's by like levels, but also introducing what ELD is, because a lot of our parents would be like, what is ELD? I don't know what that is. A lot of the parents were asking if they have to pay for it, if it's after school, and explaining what that is and the format of what they do, the pullouts and pushing into the classrooms, and as well as like even just the WIA access, like what does that mean, the components, and our ELD teachers are really engaged with them in the workshops, and they kind of like explain to it in the PowerPoint, like this is what a level 1 should be able to do, and this is what a level 4, and they walk the parents through the whole process. I think that is a big thing that our parents are really happy to learn about.
Yeah. And then I would just like to add one. I think our parents like really like the take home activities that get to do. Like, not only are they doing it here in the workshop when they're here with us, but then they're able to demonstrate this at home. And I feel like our parents really appreciate, because in the feedback and the surveys, the number one thing is what they like is the activity that they're able to do at home. And it's not just like a one-time thing. They're showing them what they're doing in the classroom and how they could support them at home. Because I think that's the number one big question that a lot of parents have is, how can I support my child at home? And then sometimes they don't feel empowered to do so. But I think in these workshops, we give them the power back to them, showing them exactly how they can help their child at home.
And then they also find community within each other. And I think that's big, because a lot of times they feel like, oh, it's just me. But then when they see that other families are here, and we do Spanish, Pashto, Dari, like we have Spanish is our second biggest language, but we have a bunch of other languages. And we try to make sure that those families also feel heard and seen.
So Melissa, when you think about next month, we'll come and we'll talk about things that we learned. Now, you are amazing. So you and Natikwa may have already done this, but what I'm thinking of in the moment is when we get to one of the next principal meetings, or even as we go into the end of the year closeout or SLI, is maybe Natikwa come with her team along with Ms. Santos, and then that way you can present to other principals. They hear it. They're going to trust their colleague who's in the work and who's seen it, which may really get them involved in wanting to do it. So that's just an idea.
Great. Well, we were planning on submitting some proposals for SLI, and now we will involve Ms. Riley's.
Yeah, because
Principal Riley's like,
principals,
what
like,
I
they'll
get
listen
myself
to her.
involved in.
No, her colleagues will listen to her. She'll talk through what she just said, and that gets me like, oh, I want to send my teachers. I want to know more about those small pieces. Oh, that's something I can try. Because if you see one of your colleagues doing it, you not that they don't listen to us, but they'll really listen to them.
We'll do the legwork, Principal Riley. We'll get you to add a few input to a few slides.
Dr. Cannon, you know that I'll do anything for you, so yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I see Dr. Goins-McCann Ms. Goins-McCann has a third round question, I'm guessing. So if there's no objections, we can allow a third round question.
This wasn't a third round question. I was going to ask if we can make a request as a committee for when they come back for additional information.
Yeah, Rosa, if I'm wrong or not, I think so.
Yes, if does consider a follow-up, we can go on the third round of this discussion. Is that okay? Mr. Jungle, you
Yeah.
you can replace again the third
No,
round.
also, yeah, everything's good.
Yes.
Dr. Apple, I saw her hand up. Did you have a question?
My request was going to be about when we're doing the family and community engagement. I know at least there was when I was working for PGCPS in our high schools, we had a large number of unaccompanied minors and students who necessarily we didn't have parents who were going to be engaged. Like the student, in effect, was their own guardian or their own main adult in the home, and just wondering how you all are working with high schools to specifically engage those students and connect them to their own. And I know schools are doing part of it, but what that looks like from you all's office and if that has been factored into this family engagement at all.
Thank you for sharing that. With the supporting our immigrant students, families, and staff, we realized we met staff in central office, and then Dr. Love, Dr. Jackson, Ms. Santos, and I did presentations for families. And we realized that the unaccompanied minor population may just kind of be left because they don't fall into any of those populations. And so we are working on planning a presentation specifically for high school students 9th through 12. We're not calling out unaccompanied minors because that's not what we're doing, but we want to make sure that if they're interested in that information, that they will be able to get it through that presentation. But we will also provide additional details how we may engage them additionally.
Good. Is there any other questions, Dr. Anderful?
Yes, this Dr. White, you already mentioned this, and it's partially true, but not just because I'm from District 1. But I am really interested in, if possible, getting a sense of what the engagement in District 1 looks like. And I mean, quite honestly, across the board, like I'm just curious about who all is actually participating, who isn't. So any, additional, information that you have on kind of who all is engaging and where there are gaps. I'd be curious to see, and also see if there's a way that we can support. I don't know. I mean, I find it surprising. I'm not gonna lie. I find it very surprising that we don't have a large representation in the North. I know there are a number of factors that could potentially be playing into that. But if there's any way that I can support or others that I know in District 1 who are I know would be very much invested in trying to get folks plugged into a lot of these amazing resources. We'd love to be able to figure out how we can support.
And then Melissa, another thing that you could do also, and at least for the 2 districts, board member Django, do you have a district? No.
No, I don't have a district.
No, I kind of think so.
I am from District 9, but
okay, when you asked District 9, that's why I had to pause, like, maybe that's new. Okay, but for the other 2 that are here, Also, maybe see if Sheila has some just information for parental things for their districts as well. But it could be, especially since I hear board member Anderful talk about the North. Same way Natikwa said, these are things she had already done, but this allowed her to do it differently. A lot of those schools, because they're Title I, because they're community schools, have other things that may not be tracked through what we're doing. So at some point we could figure out a way. It may be Melissa and Miss Santos, a way with maybe some of our schools where we know we have over a certain percentage, like what are some of the activities that they did during the year, to list them out, which would kind of give you more information in general about what's being done, not necessarily led by our office, and that could be helpful.
And I have to share that this is a self-reporting document, so we know there's flawed data there. So Ms. Santos follows, our schools will share for me to celebrate in our updates that they did a family night, but they won't complete Ms. Santos' form. So when Ms. Santos sees that, she sends them the form and says, complete our form, for crying out loud. But what we hope to do is share at the beginning of the year the data and be able to show everybody that since this is our first year, this is really baseline data to get a picture of what things are looking like. And as we share it with schools, we think we'll see an increase in them completing the form.
Okay, great. Just want to make sure, is there any more questions? Good. Okay. Let me just pull this up real quick. Oop, 1 second. Minor technical difficulty. Okay. I think it's working now. All right. Thank you everyone for the great presentations. Truly, I found it very informative and I learned a lot. Any follow-ups from tonight's meeting will be shared upon the receipt. I would like to thank the public, the committee members, PGCPS administration staff, and the board office staff for joining us this evening. There being no further business, the time is now 6:28 p.m. and the March 17th, 2025 Academic Achievement Committee meeting is adjourned. Thank you to everyone and have a great night.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Have a good evening.